Welcome back to Satisfactory. Here we are with our brand new factory, which we got as far as hub upgrade 6. So last time we were running some issues with not having enough power to get all of these relatively few buildings running. Still couldn't be ran from the single biomass burner we had at the time, and we were having to deal with all sorts of nasty things like, you know, manually collecting the resource that our portable miners had collected and all of that stuff. However, with that upgrade, we've got some much more flexibility now, where we can first of all connect this second biomass burner into our power network. That's some goods. What that does is doubles our capacity here, so we can now run buildings up to 40 megawatts, which will mean that we could run as many as these and probably a couple more. And with the automated miner and the belts that we've got now, we're going to be able to properly start to get some production lines going. So the first thing that I'm going to do is just grab these portable miners. I'm actually going to grab those back into my inventory, which does keep the iron ore that they've collected so far, and it means that I've got them. It consumes a portable miner to make an automated miner. So that's the first thing that we're going to do here. So let's get rid of everything we've got so far and start afresh. So in dismantle mode here, what I'm doing is hovering over these buildings while holding down control, and that's selecting for bulk dismantle. You'll notice that it's going to give me all of the stuff that they've made and the stuff that it took to make these buildings back into my inventory. So there's no waste there. One thing to note is that it has dropped this crate down here. The reason that happened is that my inventory didn't have any space in it, or enough space to get all those resources back in. So it drops them on the ground there for me. So I've got some ingots and some ore and so on and so forth. What I'm going to do, in the interest of not taking forever, is just get rid of a bunch of this iron ore, because that which was previously like kind of a hassle to obtain, it has just become super easy. Barely an inconvenience. Okay, so what we're going to want to do is to place a miner down on this node, which we do in production and with our miner. So that costs us a portable miner, which we have 4, it costs us 10 plates, and it costs us 10 concrete, which we don't have right now. So let's go and grab some of that there concrete. While I'm running up here, I'm wondering, do we have foundations yet? Did we breeze right past that in all of the excitement last episode? I'm curious. We don't have foundations yet. Okay, cool. So everything we're doing is just building directly on the ground, which is fine. I'm going to chuck a couple of my portable miners down here, just because I know we are going to need some more concrete, or limestone to turn into concrete, I should say. Let's drop those down there. Head back to our hub. Make a little concrete so we can make an automated miner. Did I get the stuff from that player crate? Yeah, I'm gonna say yes. Alright, let's create that there concrete. That's going to let us make an automated miner right over here. So, is that like facing cardinal direction? No, there it is. Okay, cool. Right, that is going to need some power. So let's just drop a power pole right there, get that going. Now, what this automated miner is going to do when it powers up is it's going to run based on its like kind of base capacity to extract ore, and how much it extracts is going to be based on the quality of the node that it's on. So in this case, it's sitting there on a pure node, which is the top tier, the premium. So we're getting as much ore as we possibly can do, and in fact, for the time being, that's going to be more ore than we can effectively make use of. But that's a short-term problem, and that's going to solve itself within a few tiers worth of upgrades. So it's extracting 120 per minute. What we are going to be limited by is belt throughput. So right now, in the early stages of the game, we only have these tier 1 conveyor belts, which transport up to 60 resources per minute. Add onto that fact that we don't yet have anything for splitting and merging these belts, so right now we can just do one-to-one into a smelter. So what we're going to do is create a smelter here. I'm holding control to get those grid alignments there, by the way, so we know we get a nice clean straight line between them. Let's set that for iron ingot, and we're actually just going to be able to consume 30 of that 120. So not ideal, but way better than doing all of this stuff by hand. I added power right here, didn't I? Yes. Okay, cool. Let's do that. So what we can do then is add a constructor in line. So we're taking the ore, smelting that down into 30 ingots per minute. And I can use that to make iron plates or iron rods. I can't use it to make screws because screws need rods as the intermediary. So with that being the more complex of the things we can build right now, let's set that up to be rods. And then I'm going to set another constructor in front of this to make some screws. Rather than go into the build menu every time, by the way, the thing you'll see me doing commonly here is go into dismantle mode and then a middle mouse click, which duplicates the building that you were hovering over at the time. So it's a really quick way of like making one more of the same thing that you're looking at. Drop down another power pole here. That was the 4th connector out of this, so when I hit one of those I tend to just drop another pole down so that I know that I've got, you know, something to branch off of if I need it. Set the recipe on that to screws. So we're going to be taking way more ore than we can use. I'm going to use 30 of it per minute here into ingots. Those 30 ingots, I didn't connect that to power. Those 30 ingots, we're only going to use 15 of them here. We're going to make 15 rods, and then we're going to make, of those 15 rods, 10 of them per minute to make 40 screws per minute. So we're going to have some rods left over in here, which is actually pretty handy for our purposes right now. All of this would be way better if we could split out at this stage to take our one output and run it into another smelter, another set of constructors, split out at this stage because we've got more here than we're using. So we'll get to that stuff, but we don't have that ability just yet. Anyway, those are going to crack on and make us some screws, which is the most complex thing we've got to make right now. How are we doing for power use? That's barely made a dent, so the other thing that I think we're going to do is get some mining down on our copper over there and belt that over to here. Now that hasn't kind of saturated just yet, but it will do. What it's doing here is like filling up the capacity on the constructor. Once this hits 100, then this belt will start to back up, and then the smelter itself will get full, and eventually it'll just like stop smelting, except for at the rate that that it's being used further down the line. That's kind of happening here. You'll see this ticks up to 100, and then down a little bit. But we're putting out, we're generating more than we can use here, so at a certain point we're just going to get a belt that's like backed up here and a belt that's backed up here and stuff. It does mean that I can safely steal some ingots from here without disrupting production further down the line, which is good. Now, one thing that's very handy to know is that within our hub here we've got our craft bench, which is built in. That's also a buildable building, really, that we can drop anywhere in the world. And similarly, the equipment workshop that we've made here, we can also build another one of those anytime we want to. So one thing that lazy/efficient Satisfactory players tend to do is to just drop another one of those right next to where they're working if they need to manually craft something. It does use the resources, but I've got them on me right now, and also if I come in here, make something, and then dismantle, I get those resources back. So long as you've got the resources to build the thing in the first place, then it's essentially saves on the legwork of running back to the hub all the time. The beautiful thing about these buildings, like the craft bench and the equipment workshop, is that they don't require any power either, so you can just drop them down, craft something very quickly, and then crack on. What I'm doing right now is I'm going to craft some iron plates because we're going to want to set a miner over on our copper node, which is over on that side of the map. But rather than running over there and running back all the time, we're going to belt that over towards our main base so that we can work with the copper and the iron and anything else that we want to work with, kind of all in one place, really. At a certain point it'll get messy and we'll run out of space, and at that point we'll start to refactor and start to rethink how we've got things set up. But for right now, the thing that I want to do is get that copper over here so we can work with it over here, so we've got iron and copper in the one place. Before I run over there and start to do that, do I have everything I need? So I don't have enough concrete to make another miner. One thing that I can do here is add that into my to-do list over here, which tells me that. Do I have limestone on me? I don't, so I need to go and grab some of that. So yeah, pretty quickly here we're going to want to have automated miners set up on the iron, the limestone for concrete, and the copper nodes, so that we've got some of everything coming through automatically. Automating this right now, is that something we could do? I don't know if we're going to have the power overhead to be able to do it, so let's just leave these guys doing what they're doing for now. We'll come back to that in a moment. So that gives us our concrete. That's fine, I don't think we need too much of that right now. That lets us build our miner. You can see our to-do list over on the right has now got ticks next to everything, or checks. What else do we need? We need some belts, got 146 plates there. That's everything really if we're belting it over here and doing the construction here, so let's do that. Power, that's the other thing. We need to run our power poles and power lines across in that direction. So let's drop another one down here. And looking at those numbers, we've got plenty of everything except cables. And cables are like one per. This doesn't go. It doesn't need much more cable the further distance that I'm going. Look, that's only taken 4 cables to come this far, so we're actually okay to run things over here. Let's grab these guys who are full of copper ingots at the moment. Which I do not have space for, so I'm just going to get rid of some of this stuff that we need a little bit less. And let's set our miner up here. Now, when we get foundations down, we're going to align those so that we're always working with cardinal directions. It just makes life a little bit easier, especially if you're away from your main base in building something. Which is why I'm setting the miners up to point specifically also with those cardinal directions, even though as soon as this one comes out, we're going to run the belt down probably over here, really. Straight line's most efficient for us right now. Why would that have overloaded? I thought I had plenty of capacity. Maybe one of the 2 miners ran out of fuel. Right, anyway, that doesn't stop us from running our conveyor belts down here, so let's do that. Do that. That. something like that, and then we can at least run in like a straight line opposite these guys. All of this, in case you hadn't guessed, is very temporary. We're going to run with these kind of messy builds for a little bit until we've got foundations at the very least. Yeah, so you can see here we've got a yellow light on this biomass burner, which does still have some leaves in it, but isn't being used because we've blown a fuse. The reason for that is at this point here, when we added the second miner, our consumption, which is the blue line, went up beyond 20. Now our actual capacity is 40, but that assumes both of our burners have fuel, and this one does not. So let's drop some leaves in there. Let's top this one up while we're here, and then we can just reset the fuse. There we go, we are good until we run out of leaves, which, given I have none in my inventory, ain't going to be that long. That said, last episode I did drop some petals in here, and those tend to burn for a bit longer. But I should probably be making more of an effort to pick up leaves as I'm running around the place. We're going to tech up relatively soon to get the chainsaw and the ability to turn these leaves and bits of wood and petals and stuff into solid biofuel, which is still like a, what's the word? Like a, it's not a self-sustaining resource, but it does burn for much longer and you get more power out of it. So we are going to prioritise that when we get out of this initial phase of the game, is to be able to get those stuff. And ultimately we're going to prioritise rushing up to coal power, so that is our first like self-sustainable energy resource, where you can just hook it up to a power grid and it can generate more resources than it takes to generate, and you can build everything and stuff. You can't do that with this this biomass. Right, what was I doing? So we hooked up our miner there. You can see that's now running. We've got a green light on top and we've got resources coming down the belt. So we're going to be able to make use of the copper, run that into a smelter, turn that into some wires and maybe some cables, and that seems worth doing. One thing I've not done is checked what we actually need for the next next round of upgrades, but I know I'm going to need the basics like wire and cables and plates and rods and screws for much stuff in the near future anyway, so let's just get this set up and then we'll go and check what the next tier of stuff needs. So let's have our smelter there, our constructor right in front of it like that, and again we can go with a two-stage construction if we had enough resource to build it, because we're going to go copper ore into copper ingots, into wire, and then into cables. However, we don't have enough cables to do that, so let's just get these guys going in the meantime. Did I set you a recipe? No, I didn't. And meantime, let's craft some cables so we can do the other one. Right, okay, let's do that. It takes 60 wire, turns that into 30 cables. That's 2 to 1. Once that's powered. So what does that mean? Are we going to build a stockpile of wires? No, we're not, because we're only generating 30 per minute, so every one of these that we generate is going to immediately be taken and turned into cable. At least while this machine is running. One thing we've not considered is storing the items that we create once the machine gets full. In fact, this screw machine here is only going to run for another few minutes before it starts to get full and it won't be able to consume anymore. So, one thing we should do is jump in here to organisation and grab a storage container. Hotbar that. And then we can belt that straight out of our machine here. And yeah, that's a passive building, doesn't consume any power, so we could put as many storage containers down as we wanted to, really. Right now, that's not really something we care about too much. One thing I'm going to do, since our iron ore needs are taken care of, is just get rid of all of that stuff from my inventory. Same with our copper ore, that's nearly backfilled anyway, so let's just get rid of the extra that we don't need from here. And then, let's go and check what we need for this next round of upgrades. Alright, some stuff we've got. We have enough wire already. We don't have enough plates, we don't have enough rods, but that's fine because we've got automated rod production going on there. Those rods are being used for screws, but we're generating more rods than we can use for screws. Plates are the thing that we need to build, and concrete is the thing that we need to build. So, do we have enough overhead on the power? Our max consumption at the minute is 34, our capacity is 40. You can see this is peaking and troughing as the various machines either have enough resource flowing into them at that point in time or not, or alternatively if their outputs are full or not, like the miners only run, they're going to start to only run when they need to because we're generating more resource than we can use there right now. That's why this dips up and down, but it's still hitting our max consumption regularly enough that we really only have this 6 megawatts of power to play with. If we were to automate another miner for the concrete, for the limestone, that would take 5 megawatts. That seems worthwhile, even if we're then just manually... Does that seem worthwhile, or should we just plop down a constructor for these iron plates? Let's construct the iron plates. Let's just drop that right there. Give me power. Spare power? Oh, spare power. Concrete's the other thing that we're going to need, as well as rods. Rods. Okay, you can see that filling up here. We're needing 10 rods per minute. We're constructing 15 per minute. So it's going to backfill, but it's going to take a while. But I can just nab them from here. Grab some of this wire while we've got some. And let's grab some more limestone so we can make that concrete. Oh dear, we ran out of fuel again. It's alright, we're heading back there in a second. We'll drop some of these petals and leaves and things in. We only needed 50 concrete for the next hub milestone, but like when I'm crafting something like this, I tend to just want to build myself a little buffer in my inventory anyway, because we're going to place down things like power poles and stuff, and it's really annoying to be in the middle of building something else and then go like, oh, it takes 2 concrete and I don't have any concrete. Right, let's go and refuel our biomass generators. You might notice that they like ran out quicker than they had done in the past as well, and that's because we're using more of them, like because of the way that the power peaks and troughs. If you have machines hooked up, especially with biomass generators, which only like generate when they're needed to, if all the machines are running at all of the time, then it'll like use, where you won't have any of that downtime that we probably saw last episode, where, you know, it could have generated 20, but most of the time it was only generating 10 or 12 megawatts or whatever. Whereas these, with our max consumption, if all machines are running at the same time that are hooked to this grid, it's consuming 38. Our capacity is only 40 from the 2 burners, so these 2 burners are always going to be running all the time and need refilling more often. In fact, what I'm going to do to buy us more time is just split these flower petals and drop those in. We've got less of them. It takes 12 per minute compared to if we do leaves, 80 per minute. Wood, 12 per minute. Let's do wood in one and petals in another. And we're going to need to grab some more of these things regardless. Let's grab some rods. We've got a thingy making plates over around there. We've got our concrete. Let's drop in what we do have. So we're going to need about 60 plates and about 20 odd rods. Let's just craft some rods to speed ourselves up here. And the extra couple of plates. And that will do it. Alright, what does that give us?
Congratulations, you have unlocked building space elevator, building biomass burner, heart, biomass. Motivational
Okay.
message. Congratulations, you succeeded in every provided task.
Thanks for motivational message, Ada.
Incorporated, I thank you for your current and future service.
Oh hey, it's our rockety boy.
Additional knowledge. The hub terminal has been converted to give access to milestones
Yep.
here to ensure
Cool.
note. Future developments should be aimed at constructing.
Yep, cool. Alright. See what we can do here. So we can get foundations on the go. That's a nice to have. Well, I mean, certainly vital for the longer term, but nice to have right this minute. Splitters and mergers, we definitely gonna want. Like if we went straight to foundations here, we're just gonna need so much concrete and so much iron and stuff that we're just gonna be running out of resources every 2 minutes. So better, I think, to prioritize splitting and merging so that we can make better use of the resources we've got access to. Field research to get the MAM going. We could get some cool stuff there, like start working towards getting some blade runners and some parachutes for some better mobility around the world. Obstacle clearing for chainsaws and biofuel and inventory slots. That sounds like a thing we're going to want to do soonest. So the neat thing about this is we've got tier 1 and tier 2, but you gain access at the same time. So let's make this a priority, I think, for right now, because I really don't want to have to deal with leaves and stuff too much longer. Alright, so screws. We have more than enough already. Cables we haven't automated yet. Concrete we haven't automated yet. Add some extra biomass burners, which means that we could be mining concrete automatically. We could also add on a constructor for the cables. All of this is stuff we're definitely gonna do. Oh wait, we've automated cables already. What am I talking about? All of this stuff is like stuff we're gonna do. It's just a case of where do we want to prioritize right now. That's more than enough cables, so that's good. Do we have enough limestone to do all of our concrete? Yeah, we do. Let's just handcraft that pretty quickly. Right, let's get those items in and get that thing.
Milestone reached. Biofuel will ensure maximum efficiency of biomass burners. To aid in biofuel production, you are now capable of removing foliage that consists primarily of wood. Additionally, R&D inflated your pocket dimension.
Cool, so we got more space in our personal inventory now, which is always a plus. And we can make the chainsaw. What does that need? That needs some reinforced plates, some rods, more screws, and some cable. Because we're not near to having reinforced plates automated just yet. We need regular plates. What else did it need? More screws and cables. Can I add to the to-do list? I can. Okay, cool. Rods and screws. We have both of those going through a production line over here. Cool, that's enough of everything. And this here equipment workshop is where it is. Alright, cool. Okay, we have a chainsaw, but we have no fuel for said chainsaw. We need to craft some biofuel. Biomass. Biomass, then solid biofuel. Alright, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to craft down everything we have here in terms of leaves and in terms of wood. Turn that into solid biofuel. I'm going to feed a bunch of that into our 2 biomass burners. And keep some for the chainsaw. And that's going to help us to clear some space and to solve our fuel woes. And when I say solve, I mean temporarily make them be a little bit less of a problem, but still be a major inconvenience.
Milestone exchange concluded. Fix-it freighter re-entry complete.
Alright, that takes way too long, and we're going to want to automate that. So, what do we want to do here? Let's grab our wood. They're still burning down, okay. Yeah, of course, I just made you fall over. Right, let's take our biomass. Leave ourselves like 10 for the chainsaw. Drop in. That was 58. Now that's going to take quite some time to burn down. It burns real slow, which is good. Let's over here. I was gonna say add another constructor for biofuel, but I think that's actually going to put us over capacity. So next thing that we need to do is start to add some biomass generators. Or burners, which we can't do because we don't have plates or rods or cable. Plates, yes please. Alright, you need fed. Rods. Yes. Cable, yes. I'm also just going to turn you off for the time being because we're quite rich with cables and we are very poor with wire. does that let us build our burner? Yeah, not quite. No? Yes, thank you. Cool. Alright, let's get you placed down over here. Connected into the same power network as everything else. Let's give you some of whatever we've got. Wood, I guess, for the time being. Let's set up a constructor here. Oh, I need a reinforced end plate. Let's set up a constructor here. Again, hook you in. This is a neat little trick. If you go to build the power line and it's like hovering somewhere where you're going to build a power pole, if you hover over the existing line, it's not going to let me do it. Is that broken in experimental? I think that's not working. That's oh, is it if you go to build the pole like this? Yeah, it is. Okay. Sorry. Neat little trick here. If you're going to build a power pole like this, and you hover over the middle of an existing line, then it actually like branches the existing line out. I learned that like last week after 400 odd hours in this game of deleting that line and then re-adding and reconnecting and stuff. Neat. Right, let's actually connect you there. Let's have you set to do solid biofuel based on biomass. Cool. Alright, what I need to do most right now is to go and gather a bunch of leaves and wood and stuff so that we're not going to run out of fuel every few minutes and we can get some more machines set onto our power grid without worrying about overloading it too much. That's not the sort of thing that makes for good YouTubing, so I'm probably going to leave it there. When we come back, expect nothing much to have changed in the factory, but expect us to have a lot more leaves, which will have turned into biomass, and we're going to start to feed in to generate biofuel. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Cheers.